Every time we engage with a pike, we temporarily step into its biological timeline. And to ensure these apex predators stay at the top of their food chain, we need to understand the owner's manual for the species. Today, we're looking at the science behind pike recovery, from the chemistry of the fight to the vital importance of the rest phase. We'll be drawing on the work of Dr. Robert R. Lingus and Dr. Corey Suski, world leaders in fish physiology, to see what actually happens to a pike after the release. This is Pike Biology Explained, Season 2, Episode 3, The Science of the Release. In the world of freshwater predators, there is nothing that compares to the northern pike. They are biological crossbows, highly evolved ambush predators designed for explosive, short-range acceleration. They aren't pursuit hunters. They are masters of the 1-inch punch, using a massive burst of energy to secure a meal in a fraction of a second. But for the modern predator angler, the challenge doesn't end when the bolt is fired and the fish is in the net. To understand recovery, you have to understand the engine. Pike are powered primarily by white muscle fibers. Unlike red muscle, which is fueled by oxygen for long-distance swimming, white muscle is built for anaerobic power, energy generated without oxygen. It's high octane, but it has a massive physiological cost. When a pike hits your bait and starts that legendary fight, it's running on a battery that can't be recharged in real time. The byproduct of this power is lactic acid, leading to metabolic acidosis. Think of it like a human sprinter. After a 100-meter dash, your legs burn and you're gasping for air. For a pike, the burn is systemic. And here's the kicker. A landmark study published in the Canadian Journal of Zoology by Schwarm and McKay reveals that blood lactate levels in pike don't even peak until 2 to 4 hours after you release them. While the fish might look calm in your hands, its internal chemistry is still spiraling. This lactate trap means the fish is often in a more physiological struggle 3 hours after you've gone home than it was during the actual fight. This is why we use strong, decent tackle, so we can conclude the sprint as quickly as possible, so the fish can begin the long process of clearing that acid from its blood. Once the fish is in the net, the clock pauses. It's absolutely vital to let the pike rest in the net, in the water, for a few minutes. Research by Lewison and colleagues emphasise that recovery is dose dependent. The more air exposure and stress, the longer the heart takes to normalise. By letting it sit in the mesh, you allow its gills to begin flushing out the carbon dioxide built up during the fight. After unhooking, this second rest is crucial. Support the fish horizontally by the tail, allowing it to move water through its gills until it decides to swim off in its own time. Never rush this stage by just throwing it back in. That rest and recovery period is what ensures the fish leaves you with its equilibrium restored. Precision is our best tool for conservation. Our goal is an efficient unhook. When deadbaiting, the wait 5 seconds run mentality is a relic of the past. The moment a take is confirmed, hit it. This sets the hooks early and in the front of the mouth, turning a difficult unhooking session into a quick job. But of course, deep hooking happens. This is where your toolkit defines you. Studies on angling mortality show that the duration of handling is the single biggest predictor of survival. A strong set of bolt cutters is an essential piece of kit. If a hook is set deep or at a funny angle, don't struggle with it. Pliers can cause more damage through leverage than the hook itself. Cut the hook with the bolt cutters and sacrifice the hook. You drastically shorten air exposure and prevent physical trauma to the fish. It's the single most professional move an angler can make. The environment is the silent partner in every catch, and it's here that we see a massive physiological shift. In cold water, specifically below 10 degrees Celsius, a pike's metabolism is significantly depressed. This essentially puts a brake on the chemical reactions inside the fish. This explains why Lewison and his team found that ice-angled pike are remarkably resilient, showing negligible mortality even after 5 minutes of exposure. In these freezing conditions, the lactate trap we mentioned earlier doesn't spring nearly as hard. Because the metabolism is so slow, the accumulation of acid in the blood happens at a fraction of the speed that it does in summer. The cold water acts as a physiological buffer. However, we have to be careful. Those were controlled conditions, and in the field, we should still aim for a minimal air exposure, regardless of the season. Furthermore, the real winter danger isn't the chemistry, it's sub-zero air. While the internal chemistry is stable, moisture on the eyes and gills can freeze rapidly, causing permanent tissue damage and necrosis. But as the water warms, that metabolic brake is released. In the UK, there's no law stopping you from fishing for pike in the summer, but the biological damage is very real because the lactate trap now has a hair trigger. Some might think that 18 degrees is cool, but for a pike, that's the beginning of the danger zone. At 18 degrees C, the dissolved oxygen in the water is dropping just as the pike's metabolic rate and its acid production is skyrocketing. Once you hit 21 degrees, you're at a physiological cliff edge. Extensive research by Arlingus and Suski shows that above this temperature, air exposure should be well under 30 seconds. In water reaching 24 degrees, mortality rates can climb to between 10 and 40%. This is the ultimate delayed mortality trap. It is incredibly deceptive because a fish caught in these conditions will often swim away with a powerful kick, looking perfectly healthy to the angler. But once that fish reaches the weeds, its system begins to fail. The heat accelerates the chemistry so much that the pike's system simply cannot clear the acid before it reaches lethal levels. Hours later, that fish quietly expires on the lake bed. As stewards, we have to recognise that the risk begins long before the water feels hot to a human. It begins the moment the thermometer hits the teens. Now, some people might look at this data and say, well, just leave them alone then. But that argument, I believe, misses the bigger picture entirely. Pike populations face far greater threats than responsible angling. Habitat destruction, pollution, invasive species, and of course, illegal netting. Anglers are the frontline defence. We're the ones on the bank monitoring fish health and reporting incidents before anyone else notices. We're the ones documenting population changes and sounding the alarm when needed. But it's not just our eyes and ears, it's our presence as a community that fuels conservation. Every rod licence fee, every day ticket, and every wanderer's permit for the Canal and River Trust helps the management and protection of these habitats. If we remove anglers from the equation, you remove the primary economic and social motivation to protect these waters. This science isn't a case against pike fishing, it's a case to strive for excellence. It's about raising the standards so high that our impact becomes negligible, while our contribution to habitat protection is instrumental. This is the covenant of the modern predator angler. We fish with precision, we handle with respect, and we defend these waters like they're our own. Because in every meaningful sense, they are. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And until next time, stay hooked. I'm Stu, a British military veteran, and predator angling runs deep in my veins. It's about wild waters, the chase, and a way of life. If you enjoyed this adventure, hit subscribe. And if you want to go even further, join my channel memberships for raw, unfiltered predator sessions and exclusive films you won't see anywhere else. This is Hooked on Predator Fishing, and until next time, stay hooked.